Well, good afternoon and welcome to another of our Webinar Wednesday series. Our series has been going since 2013 and we're in year 4 or 5, and we have a returnee back with us today, Tom Weir, who in 2014 presented the Lean Canvas to our webinar audience. Well, good afternoon. My name is Kelly Bearden. I'm the director of the CSUB SBDC located in downtown Bakersfield. Off the campus of California State University, Bakersfield. And we're today live from downtown in the Mid-State Development Conference Room in downtown Bakersfield. So thank you for joining us today. I think we have a fascinating webinar planned today. We've got a lot to go over, so I'm going to try to get through this stuff as quickly as I can. As you probably are aware of, the SBDC program is a program in all 50 states. There's 1,000 of us sub-centers located across the country. We're part of the UC Merced Regional Network, which covers the Central California region of the state of California. And it goes all the way up from far Mono County to the north, down to Kern County in the south, over to Inyo in the east, and the Pacific Ocean to the west. So, appreciate that. There's our 3 counties that we cover, Kern, Inyo, and Mono County, which are the farthest south, north, east, but not west in the Central California region. So a little bit about what we do is we provide high quality consulting, and actually, you know what, I have a video that does a better job of describing what we do, so let's play this video.
The California Small Business Development Centers are the state's #1 resource for current business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs. Our 43 SBDC centers throughout the state offer no-cost expert one-to-one business consulting, training, and online courses in a variety of areas like startup assistance, debt and equity funding, attracting and retaining customers, international trading, product commercialization. Our consultants are currently former small business owners, ready to assist you with even your most complex business needs. So, if you are looking for a loan or equity capital for your new tech venture, want to build a new website, need help starting or expanding your restaurant, or would like to sell your products internationally, make the California SBDCs your first step. To get started, simply visit us online to find the location closest to you at californiasbdc.org. The California Small Business Development Center is ready to help your business start, grow, and succeed.
Okay, well, gee, that's great. I knew they could do it better than I could. So, moving along. Also, one thing that we're trying to notify small businesses about is mandatory e-filing and e-paying for your quarterly state payroll tax returns through the Employment Development Department. And effective this quarter, if you have 10 or more employees, it's mandatory that you file electronically and pay electronically. If you have less than 10 employees, it doesn't come into play until next year, until effective 1/1 of 2018. And if you need some help, please contact one of your SBDCs in your area. You can contact us, and we can actually refer a consultant to you and have them meet with you and assist you this first time. And also, if you need more information, there's plenty of resources online, so please check out that website. But keep that in mind for all you employers out there. So as far as your webinar interaction, to try to get a better experience for you today, all of you are going to be muted. So if you want to contact with me, who is the moderator today, Kelly Bearden, I will be right here addressing your concerns through the chat box or the question box. So if you see there's an arrow, right-hand arrow in your dashboard on the right side of your screen, by clicking on that arrow, it will open that up and give you the opportunity to either ask a question or to chat. All of our questions will be answered at the end of the webinar today. At the end of the webinar also, we will have a survey that will be sent to you electronically. So please complete that if you want handouts or you want more information. But really what we're looking for is your feedback. We really value your feedback on some of the programs that we would like to offer. However, we don't know what you want. So please attach the survey at the end of the webinar. And again, if you want handouts, to please mention that. We have a couple of upcoming webinars. We're doing webinars throughout the month of April on Wednesday, and our next one is going to be a regional webinar in the UC Merced region of Central California, and it's going to be selling to the government and corporate buyers. Get the cheese, avoid the traps. And that will be done by Vernita Naylor. And Vernita is actually an author of a book of the same name, Get the Cheese, Avoid the Traps. So that'll be next Wednesday. The following Wednesday after that, we have one on a topic that we've never addressed before, which is trying to avoid employee burnout. And employee burnout costs employers millions, if not billions of dollars nationally. And it's something that you can find out a little bit about in more detail. So it's kind of a unique subject that came up through the survey. So thank you for filling out those surveys. So today, before I introduced our speakers for today, our presenters, I would like to welcome Bank of America as a sponsor to our webinars. We've done about 70 of these webinars over the past 4 years plus, and it's been through the sponsors that you see listed below that have been able to bring this to you free of charge. And we're going to continue to do that. So thank you, Bank of America, for your sponsorship for our webinar program. Started last week with the finance checkup webinar that we had. So thank you again, Bank of America. Our presenters today. Today we are fortunate to have two very gifted consultants of the SBDC to work on this particular topic of the lean canvas and finding your search for a business model. Tom Weir is a lead business consultant and has been with the SBDC since it's been at California State University, Bakersfield in 2010. Tom is a business consultant with many years experience, a lot of knowledge on the particular subjects, and actually operates his own business consulting business on the side. So we'll hear from Tom in a second. And joining Tom today is going to be Erika Baltazar. Erika is our associate lead consultant, and she is one of our students at California State University in the School of Business and Public Administration that will be graduating on May 19th of this year. So our associate consulting program pairs one of our student consultants with one of our senior level consultants and provides a great dynamic for our business consulting clients and today for our webinar audience. So welcome, Tom. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Kelly, and welcome entrepreneurs out there. I think we've got a good one for you today, as they say on Family Feud every day. We've got a useful process that's going to make a difference if you're a startup in particular. And what were you going to add to that, Erika?
I was just going to start with, where do we begin?
Oh, I like that. Well, where we begin, this slide is supposed to show you that there are a few books out there. There are many more than we're illustrating, but within the last 10 years, there have been many publications offering a strategic approach to building a business, and they want to really introduce new products and services as a startup, and as an existing business they use these same processes. But our conversation today is going to hover over the single book, Running Lean by Weir, and it's turned out it's been a pretty invaluable tool for anyone that has the idea they want to start a business, because most often they come to us and it's just either an idea in their head or a very sketchy plan on maybe even a napkin and not anything full-blown. But you can go to Google search and you're going to find lots of publications on this topic, and in particular talking about it today is going to bring a topic to mind, I'm sure, as you read other sources and find that this is something that's really being used today. The lean is a word that comes from a gentleman from Japan right after World War II, his name is Tashi Ono, and he combined the flow principles of Henry Ford, who had obviously the Ford assembly line, to just weed out waste. So lean in particular in this instance is to weed out waste, if you use the original definition. I think what Weir adds to it is it makes a really efficient process for starting a business, and one that we want to be successful. And maybe that's enough of that introduction. We should really go into a sample template here. This is kind of the a first attempt, if you will. It's got the rudiments of all the blocks that we're going to show you in building a perfect business model a little later in the seminar, but the whole intent of this thing is to be an alternative to a polished business plan. So many people today, if you read even an entrepreneurial magazine article just a few months back, they talked in terms of building a business plan. That's so 90s. What they do today is they use this lean canvas. So what's the lean canvas over the business plan? The business plan is something that can get so polished and so personal and so important to you that you can kind of jump off a cliff with it and never alter it and die with a business. The point of this particular tool we're going to show you is to give you an opportunity to survive before you run out of all your resources. But what else could you add to that, Erika?
And also, business plans try to predict the future, which is impossible. So instead, writing out your lean canvas, you should do it with a get-it-done type of attitude. And it shows that most successful companies change 66% of their original plan along the years within their business. So the lean canvas is a great tool to use. It's a snapshot of what you think your business is going to look like. It helps organize your ideas and helps explain what your business is exactly.
That's a good point, because what are the statistics? It's like 8 out of 10 startups are gone in 18 months, and this is a method to produce a business model that works before you run out of all your resources. We're really going to focus today on addressing the broad customer problems and solutions and delivering them to customer segments through a unique value proposition. And that's a big sentence, but that's going to make so much more sense when we're done with this webinar. But that would be our goal. Let's talk about who uses it.
So who uses the lean canvas? Large corporations, small businesses, entrepreneurs, so anyone who's interested in starting a business. So we see large companies such as Google, Netflix, Mary Kay have all adapted to the lean canvas, and then also one of our clients, Pepper Palette, who's used the lean canvas to really help her business.
And those big guys, they use it whenever they're introducing a new product or service, because it really focuses in on how to organize their thoughts and to really design a plan that's going to work strategically. But again, our focus today, we're going to stick with the starters, the true entrepreneurs that want to start up. But we do have a couple more examples of what the big guys do, and maybe it'll give you a little flavor of how it works.
Yeah, so we look at Netflix, and we can see how Netflix has changed over the years with their lean canvas. So in 1998, Netflix, their value proposition was online movie rentals, and that's how they were able to get their customers, which were people watching movies at home. And so those customers, they were able to build a relationship with them by having them make reviews at the end of renting their DVDs. So they started already adapting to the lean canvas and using it, but then along the years they began to change with technology, with internet and devices, so they were able to expand their channels by offering their online streaming, which was in 2007.
And boy, did they knock out the brick and mortars in this whole process, or what, over the years? Exactly. I mean, I remember going to Blockbusters and just kind of feeling sorry for the business owner and had to buy all those DVDs and kind of predict what people would rent. You wondered how they could keep an inventory, and the expense behind it was just amazing to me. So what did Netflix end up doing? Just what you said, right?
So yeah, so to take their business to the next level, in 2007, Netflix value proposition changed, and now you're able to watch movies from your phone, computer, any type of tablet. And so now they were able to reach even more customers and build that customer relationship to be friendly, easy to use, and accessible for customers.
But if we go to the tool itself, not to jump off of this Netflix too quickly, we've got a tool that looks a little differently than this, and hopefully when we're all done you're going to understand fully what we're saying here. But just look at how simple this is. It's like 8 different boxes, and Netflix used it as a visual that really worked to get people on board to understand exactly what they were attempting to do, but more importantly, everyone could identify with each of the boxes and fully understand what their intention was as a business model and to question it or adapt it, etc. So they were kind of in the forefront, I guess, when it came to using these kinds of tools. But how fun that you, right there where you are, can design a business and use this same tool.
Mm-hmm.
So how, I guess, is our next question. How you produce and deliver and market your product or service. So think about that. How will you produce, deliver, and market your product or service? How will you make money? How will you sustain your business? How will you scale your business? And we'll define those terms as we go along as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we can keep the hows going. How do you organize your dream? How do you organize your thoughts? How do you take a real serious look and a strategic look at what you're about to launch? Because again, we kind of chuckle. We get clients so often that come in here with a new idea, and like I was saying earlier, they don't even have it rendered to writing at all. They don't even bring a pen or a piece of paper to the meeting. They just start telling you about this idea, and we never allow them to leave the first meeting without using this lean canvas tool, this outline that we're going to show you in just a second, without leaving with that, with the assignment to fill it out, and really show us how you think your new venture, your startup is going to look as a business model. So I guess continuing the how, I guess we need to unveil it, yes?
Exactly.
It has some slight, another slide, another slight variation from the one we were looking at with Netflix. There she be, where we are starting with a problem. That's kind of interesting, isn't it, Erika?
Exactly. So that's where we would start, is first identify the problem. What need does my product or service fill? So I would suggest to write down 1 to 3 problems and just identify what those problems are that you're going to be looking to solve.
And that's interesting, because when you get in the solution side of it, our author would recommend, and we cite this to our clients in every opportunity we have, it's not like you as an entrepreneur should ask yourself, if let's say you're producing some new product to bring to the marketplace, it's not so much a question, could I make that product? Remember, with 3D printers today, you can make anything, and that's why it's so much easier to go to market today with less cost and less time involved, because we can build prototypes so quickly with the help of 3D printers. The real question is, should I make that product? And are you understanding that distinction? Could I make it? I'm sure you could. You can make anything today. But should I? And why would I even ask if I should? Because of, Erika, that next.
Which would be your customers. So really identifying who your customers are, who wants your product or services. And I think this is one of the most important boxes in the Lean Canvas, is really knowing who your customers are and knowing if they want your product or service. So by doing so, you can start doing surveys and going out there and asking customers of, will they use this product or service? How much are they willing to pay for it? And then by doing these surveys, you're also able to start seeing a trend of what customers are looking for and what they want.
Well, let's back up. Oh, go finish with that.
Oh, I was just going to say, so it is important to know also the demographics of your customer, knowing them, to what age they are, what gender, their pay, where they live. So really identifying the demographics of them.
So if we take what you just said, Erika, and we go back to the problem that was the top left box of this 9-block tool that's going to help us build the perfect business model, it really is the entrepreneur who's interpreting that there's some kind of problem issue in the marketplace, and hopefully they've done some research on that to support their thinking. But now they come up with some kind of product or service in your solution box adjacent to the problem, and now you take us to the customer segment. If that customer isn't going to buy the product or service you just conceived of, do you have a business?
You don't.
Of course not. And that's an amazing thing. And it's that, I know that seems simple to say in the webinar like this, but to get that point across to clients isn't that simple. They fall in love with their solution to a problem, and they just assume that there are customers out there that will agree with them and buy that product. And yet if you have no market, you have no customer demand for your product or service, you don't have a sustainable or even scalable, for sure, business at that rate. So what's the other element that comes in that really tells the true story? The
revenue stream, and that what will your customer be willing to pay for your product or service?
Wow, that's poetic almost. But the issue is, if I even have a following, oh, they want this product, but I have a pricing strategy that puts the price at a point where the customers are unwilling to pay that, we're back to the same issue we had earlier. We either had customers, but now we're saying we do, but they won't pay what we expect them to pay. And it could be my margins are so thin, I can't afford to even sell it for any more than I'm offering it, or for any less than I'm offering it, I should say. And yet if the customer isn't willing to pay that, do I have a business that's going to be successful?
No.
Of course not. So coming to these realizations early in the process really saves us. How? Well, certain resources are finite. What would you guess they are, Erika?
Time, money, and energy.
Exactly. That's all we've got, right? We've got time, money, and energy. And if we run out of time, money, and energy before we build a perfect model, we're out of business already, early. So this whole tool is designed to fail quickly. Get out there and adapt and experiment and move things around before you run out of time, money, and energy, because you want it to work, you want to make it work. But if you don't have customers, it's not working. If they aren't willing to pay your price, it's not working. So what's the next factor you think we should put in? Which box should we fill out at this point if we know we do have customers and they are willing to pay?
So the next would be the channels. How will you reach your customers? And again, that's important to know the demographics of your customers. So within your channels, you know what content to use to reach those customers. And what type of advertising are you doing? Are you doing social media, traditional marketing? How are you going to be reaching those customers and building a path to them?
Yeah, what they call it, touching points, and they have to be soft today. People are so used to the social media in particular and friends recommending, because it's so easy to hear what people are thinking and doing out there in the marketplace, and they share that with their friends. They're pretty harsh when it comes to the good old-fashioned telemarketers, aren't they? And maybe the charities still use that method, but to go out and cold call people all day and all night is a pretty rough go. So you've got to pick channels that'll softly put you in contact with those customers that you need and want. Erika and I are fond of saying, you know, if you knew that every customer you'd ever want for your business ate breakfast at the 24th Cafe in Bakersfield, California every Tuesday morning, where would you be as a business owner who wanted to attract those customers to your product and services? Where would you be every Tuesday morning? You'd be at the 24th Street Cafe, rubbing elbows with those people. And wouldn't it be wonderful if it was that easy? Wouldn't it be wonderful if your group, the people in your customer segment were so finite you could find them just eating breakfast? But that's usually a puzzle piece as well, and that's why it's one of the boxes within this tool, because we're starting, as you can see, we're starting to lay out our plan A. The clients we bring in, they lay out the plan. Here's the plan. But now they've got to look for the places that are risky. And we've just pointed out it's kind of risky if you have customers that don't want your product. That's probably the worst risk. And it's a little risky if they aren't willing to pay your price. And it's a little risky if they don't like the approach for your channels. So as we build this model out, and we have something, we have content in each of these boxes to say something about how I've designed my model, we want to know there's something that that's really pertinent to the whole model being said there, where it might be a little thin, maybe you're just not understanding what's being asked, or you really don't know, and if that's the case, that might equal risk if you haven't been able to identify what has to go in that particular box. So you've laid out your plan, you weed out the risk, and then you, through experimentation, you create these new iterations to get to a plan that does work. So Erika, what are you thinking now we'd want to fill in if we were building this business model?
Even though with the channels, taking a step back, make sure you keep track of where your customers are coming from, so you know what's best to use when you're trying to attract your customers. So next, after channels.
Oh, and I might add, I like that thought, because we have what people call social media, which is extremely popular, which we kind of alluded to here without using the word, that gets us close to potential customers. But we have traditional marketing as well, and there might be a combination of those two that will really make this thing sing, right?
Exactly.
So what was your next thought?
So the next would be the unique value proposition. So what are the benefits of your product or service that brings value to your customers? So be different, but make sure that your different matters.
Yeah, it's always kind of that, well, what's in it for me, right? You think you've got this powerful product or service, but if you aren't really if you're not really bringing true value to that client, then I think the show is over as well. But you can think really, spend some time on that. Again, this is a strategic point, because if you're going to bring those values to the people, you're going to have to make them aware of them, and that should come out in everything that you're doing as a business owner as well. Where do we go with the values then?
So with the value, we jump into the unfair advantage, and that's how are you different from your competition? So
and why do they call it unfair, do you think?
Because it's
not unfair to you, the entrepreneur, the business owner. It's really unfair to the competition. So they're being kind of cute there.
Your competitive advantage. And that kind of ties into your unique value. So usually what your unique value is, that's how sometimes you are different from your competition.
Well, that's a good point. So those two boxes, they could overlap a little bit. Things that could also make it unfair is that you actually have intellectual property. You might have inventions that have been patented, for example, and your competition is kind of stiff-armed from competing with you in that regard. It could be, too, that you have tremendous experience. You could be a subject expert, as they say, and your competition is not. But there are a lot of things that can set you apart from the competition, but you as a business owner, or potential business owner for sure, need to know exactly what those are. So you can, hopefully we're pointing out that we don't have a whole lot of time to get you through all of these boxes, but we will here, but we don't have a lot of time to get too deep. But if you can get the essence of what we're talking about, I think you're going to have a great start in that regard. What are we missing then?
So then our cost structure, what fixed and variable expenses will reduce your revenue?
Yeah, I never get to that one without thinking of this this client that I got that by the time she got to us, she had already signed a lease for brick and mortar, they call it. So she had to have a physical space because it involved children and gymnastics, so she needed a huge warehouse kind of space. And she was proud to say that she got the lease for $12,000 a month. And I said, oh my gosh, did you already sign? Yes. Well, where is it located? Well, I said, that's industrial. Are you sure it's coded properly, or zoned, I'm sorry, properly? And it turned out it wasn't, so she had to go to the county and get a variance and get an attorney and pay a lot of money. But worse, though, is that if you have to do with a brick and mortar, you're immediately taking on the weight of a fixed expense versus a variable. If it varies by the amount of revenue, you're willing to take that hit. But on a fixed one, I mean, this woman was looking at $750,000 obligation over 5 years, and you wonder how a company who's brand new can sustain themselves when they have the weight of that financial burden so early in the process. And she did drag tens of thousands of dollars each month for a full year or two. So again, these are the things we discuss with our client, and we try to steer you around those. But I know even Kelly has had examples where someone has a great food idea and they want to start a restaurant. Well, it just turns out that the sources for loans and capital, etc., don't really favor restaurants. Evidently, that startup statistic is even worse for restaurants. And why then the brick and mortar and that huge expense? He has suggested food trucks, and that was the success that made that particular business model really work, especially initially to really determine if the marketplace enjoyed this new food idea that this gentleman had. Are we missing anything else?
The key metrics. So,
the key metrics.
Yeah, what needs to be measured in your business?
And people are going to determine that over time, I know for a fact. And I mean, immediately they think in terms of the quantifiable things like sales and things that they're going to end up putting in their business reports and their financials for sure. But I know our author for Running Lean is very emphatic about growth. So there's going to have to be something, if they're going to make a sustainable business, growth is going to be a big part of it. And he identified growth with 3 items, actually. He was looking at retention. He thought that was really important. How many users are really sticking around and continue to buy from you? That was one way he could look at it. And so that might be a metric they might have. How many? I know certainly for a gym or what do they call them, body trainer, they usually look for memberships in their gyms, and that's always about retention. How long will people stick around and pay that membership? There was also one growth strategy, I guess we'd call it, viral high referral. I thought was kind of interesting. That's where our author, Ash Mara, gets into the issue of, wow, that factor should be a greater than 1. Wouldn't it be wonderful if every user that bought our product or service brought in one other person via probably social media in particular? That's why he calls it the viral high referral. And then there's others that he calls paid high margins, and that had everything to do with using traditional marketing, where you will have to create a marketing budget for yourself and or hire salespeople. Those are other methods of growth. But I guess while we're talking about the metrics, you're going to create a dashboard of things that really work, and most business owners find something that tells them that the pulse of the company is where it should be based on key metrics. So what else can we say about this full page? This is a tool that really works. We've had clients that use it successfully. Yes. And it produced what it was supposed to produce, and we've got some examples to show you in that regard. But just remember the 3 steps here. We're trying to document our plan A. We want to mitigate the risks the best we have the ability to do, and we want to iterate, which just means we're going to experiment and take the best parts of that and move forward to a plan that does work. So plan A will be modified as we go as needed, and then all of this action and activity is done with the thought that we must fail fast, because we must make this model work before we run out of time, money, and energy. We run out of our resources, because we hear that every day. Well, I ran out of money. I'm out of business. I work day and night and have 2 jobs. I'm just absolutely out of time. And of course, the energy factor weighs me down, and I can't be effective wherever I am. So hopefully you're all getting that flavor. This is a wonderful, wonderful tool. And
we usually recommend our clients to blow the lean canvas up, put sticky notes on it, and continue to change it
because why? Let's go to the why. You bring out a really good point, Erika, because everyone can get on board.
Exactly.
It's so visual, and it's so and it's so simple appearing, and yet it can be very, very deep and the intricacies of it, obviously, because we've got to build this model that works. But what a better visual, and like you say, if you could put Post-it notes on a great big poster, and we do that at our center to illustrate this to clients, and we recommend that and make it poster size. But what other reasons would someone use this?
So it's easy to understand, and also you can get everyone on board when you're trying to explain your business to someone. You have this model there, and you're able to explain it very easily.
Because most clients we get can't articulate it that well, can they? They have the fundamental idea, and we're going to have some examples here for you in a second, but they'll have the fundamental idea, but there's just no detail to it.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's no cohesiveness to it. Mm-hmm. And this gives you, obviously, all that. And then we've talked about weeding out risk, and if plan A doesn't work, of course, we're going to experiment to create new iterations of the model. And then I know that's one of your favorite areas is the survey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to get out there and go talk to your customers and survey them, make a list of 10 to 20 questions and go out there and see what the customers really want and what they're willing to pay for your product or service.
Yeah, and the way you package it and mm-hmm. the add-ons that you create, are these what they want? Because you forget that these are real people that make up your client base, and even if it's a business to business, what I'm fond of saying, I mean, you can look at a demographic like I'm looking for a certain size business that has X number of employees, so it has to have 20 employees at least, and it has to be making $1 million a year at least, and you can put the demographics to the business. But within that business, there's a purchasing agent, or there's a president or a vice president you have to get the attention of to sell your product or service. And again, those are people, and then again, their demographics matter as well. And back to our survey theme here, I'm getting a little sidetracked, is the fact that they're real human beings and they can be talked to. You can ask them flat out questions. Well, think of that. All those home improvement shows are so popular on the cable networks these days. And what's that gentleman's name? Torque, and he has the blonde mm-hmm. wife. Is it Flip or Flop or something like that?
Yeah.
But it's amazing. They put up, like every entrepreneur does, they put up money out of their pocket to go into the marketplace and risk losing that. They buy properties that are run down, they improve them, they put a lot of money in the remodels, and then on the day that they're supposed to show the property, Torque doesn't let anyone leave that open house without asking them two basic questions. Well, what did you see? What did you like? What you didn't like? What about the house? Does it look like, you know? And he always gets feedback. Mm-hmm. And then he always asks, well, did we price it right? Have you been following the market here? Are you new to it, or do you know what's going on? And if they know what's going on, they say, no, it's priced perfectly, or maybe it's a little high. But he always asks feedback. And that's kind of what should be natural for a business owner to do. Mm-hmm. What was our last point then? The result you want is a model that works before you run out of resources. I think we've bombarded that, but for good reason. I'm going to keep saying that.
Mm-hmm. Which is the time, money, and energy.
All over again.
Yes.
So what's next then?
So
should we give them some examples?
Yeah, our examples of the clients that we've worked with. So the canvas we've seen has identified immediate roadblocks. And I had a client who had a background in construction, and he wanted to start a demolition company. And so he needed two things that we've seen. He needed a license to get started, but also there was no problem in the market. He just wanted to start this demolition company, but he did have a unique value, and that was go green. But his roadblock was when he went to go get his license, he didn't have enough experience to get that license. So now that caused him in California, he would not be able to charge over $500 for his work that he would do.
Yeah. Without a contractor's license.
Exactly, yeah. So those were definitely roadblocks he's seen when he was filling out the lean canvas and going through each of those boxes.
So the canvas, even at the problem stage, can identify, oh, I don't have a problem. I just thought I should be a demo company because I've been such a great contractor type or worker. He worked for other contractors, so he was a construction worker, and yet that's where we can help clients too, because we can offer research. We have a database we can get to for further research, but it would have been behooved him if he had known whether or not there were no demo companies in the market he was going to work in, or if there was a shortage, or there was something happened that twisted it a little bit, that he jumped in and took advantage of that. And we didn't see any of that. And then once he realized he had a licensing issue that would take 3 years, didn't he say?
Yeah, 3 years.
So that kind of threw his model out the door right there, unless, like you suggest, he limp along for 3 years and never charge more than $500. I remember.
But then he looks at his cost. Is he able to even cover his cost? So
that's where the integration and the dovetailing of all these boxes really works, and we kind of hit them in the order that we like to look at them for priority purposes. I can remember a client who had vegan, I guess they call them, beauty supplies. She had these I remember like 3 or 4 just real natural products, and you'd swear that nobody could have an issue with those. They were so natural. And she wanted to make skin lotions and hair shampoos, and in the process of completing lean, we even helped her out when it came to, well, what does the health department say, and what are the local codes, and we got her past all of that. That wasn't the issue. She was trying to figure out what venues she would jump in to provide these products. But interestingly, when we got to the issue of risk management, because she thought her products were so pure, the health department said as long as it's topical, it's not being ingested, they're not eating her product. They had no roadblocks for her in that regard. But she realized that, well, what if someone said they reacted to it or whatever, and there was a lawsuit that followed? How would she mitigate that risk? She couldn't afford the liability insurance because she hadn't sold anything, hadn't set her price points yet, and couldn't imagine overcoming just that one expense. And she was out. So like our demolition guy, we've got 2 examples where people learned early they might want to just bow out of that idea, right?
Yes. So next we look at the lackluster customer response, which we have a food spice client, and the weakness in the lean canvas was the channels, that how this client was reaching their customers was through the channels, which was only online and through trade shows, but the online traffic it needed more online traffic to fill those orders in with those food spices. So that was a weakness we've seen in the canvas, was those channels getting through with the customers.
Well, that's a fascinating one too, and that's telling her something now, whether or not she really has that consumer demand that she needs. We're going to run out of time here pretty quickly, so the next one, no misunderstanding. That was kind of a favorite of mine, because we had a client that,
It was a technology company, and so this client, you could get lost very easily when he's explaining it. So, having this lean canvas, he would take it with him when he would have to sit down in front of potential customers, and he was able to really clear what his business operation was. So he was able to use this tool when he would explain his business. And so, since it was very techy.
Yeah, he could articulate better. He could offer more clarity just showing the model, even though he had a successful model and he was gaining customers. That was kind of cool. And lastly on that page, let's just skip to inventors. We get a lot of inventor types, and they're usually not. They're more creative and what do I want to say? They're idea people, for heaven's sakes. They don't always have business plans figured out in their head, and they often don't know where to go next, and we do help them as well. Exactly. But jumping to that last page, because I know we've got some questions and we've got to be able to answer those. We said when.
Yeah, so when to get started?
How about now? And we do have a question on the board now. Can they contact us? Absolutely.
Yes.
And now, and we can help you do just what we're describing here. And and maybe as a summary here, running lean is defined as a systematic process for iterating from plan A to a plan that works before running out of resources. I think we've hammered that. And Ken, your bright idea?
Sustain a business.
I don't know. Or will you run out of money, time, energy first and have to turn the lights off? So let's get to our questions, huh?
Well, great. Well, we do have quite a few questions, and there's still time to ask a question. If you have one, drop open your question box with the right-hand arrow and fire away. The first question, Tom and Erika, is will a bank take my completed canvas in lieu of a business plan?
Ah, that's Erika's favorite topic.
That's a really good question. I would say bringing it to a bank, it would be good to give it more detailed. So starting off with a lean canvas, that's where you should first start with, definitely, and then taking that and creating your business plan off of the lean canvas.
It almost becomes an outline,
Exactly.
a foundation to it.
Because you would need to give the bank probably more detailed of your business, which the lean canvas doesn't have that much detail of the business. It's more of the outline.
Great. And the one thing I might add also is that the customer development section we are starting to include in business plans, and that's been very helpful.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot more clarity in the business plan as far as what the marketing strategy is and who your competition is.
And before we leave customer development, we noticed it's been in the business plans, and it's been very helpful from at least what we've heard from lenders in identifying, and we've seen it in various ways. We've seen the traditional way of sitting down on a one-on-one and do customer development with a particular customer, potential customer, even perhaps a vendor or a competitor or someone else who's associated with that industry. So before we leave the customer development phase, there was another question on, was that the next step? Somebody who I think attended the webinar a couple of years ago when we had on customer development, is customer development the next step after completing the canvas?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because that's part of the growth
Yeah.
stage we talked about.
Yeah.
And that goes to the heart of the metrics.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you going to grow this? How are you going to be, scalability, we never did define that, is all about increasing your revenue without dramatically increasing your costs. So now we're talking the growth, and then sustainability is all about those profits. They kind of key in being green and the environment, so it's people and planets, but we're emphasizing here profits for sustainability. So absolutely, the business development part of it is, how am I going to increase those revenues? How am I going to increase the users? And how am I going to get those users to brag about me to bring in more users? Or am I going to have to put salespeople out there, like we said earlier? But that has to be a full, strategically thought out process, no question.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what you said, each box now can become more developed in the business
Exactly. And also, after doing your customer survey, you might go back and make some changes to your lean canvas after hearing what the customers have to say. So
it could change
definitely
everything.
doing
It
that
could change your
after.
pricing strategy. It could change how you offer your products and how you package them, and then how you try to reach, or in this case, the channels.
Yes.
Those are all good questions, though. I mean, it would all be part of what you're going to have to do to really make this thing work properly.
Okay, Mike asked, can an existing business use the lean canvas model? And can you also provide an example on how one would want to do that?
Well, I can tell you that Mary Kay Cosmetics is a pretty big company, and they outsourced. They were trying to build a new app so their consultants could kind of run their business on the go, and so they created this app. But first, they used an outsource called Bottle Rockers. I'm reading from a piece of text that I love, because I told you there were lots of publications, or certainly this whole lean concept is coming into articles and other business things that you're reading. But the Rockets approach, this Bottle Rockets approach to development, is a blend of collaboration and rapid iteration. There's our word iteration again, using the lean user experience development cycle, which they're calling think, make, check. Now, I've always had a business development process that I always called innovate, quantify, and orchestrate. So this one is think, make, check, and then each project begins with a discovery session consisting of 1 to 2 days of face-to-face with the client, getting to know the company and the customer, blah, blah, blah. So what they'll do when they're trying to launch new products or new services, or in this instance, a new app to help their own sales force, they'll use they'll use these methods. Because what does it do? It goes back to our list of benefits. Mm-hmm. It's visual. Everybody can get on board. It's highly focused on being successful, but there's nothing left out and nothing left to chance, because we said we got to weed out the risk, right? Exactly. So the big boys and girls are using it, and everybody as a startup is using it. It's kind of the thing today, and like Erika said, that's why you'd start for sure with this if you have nothing else in writing, and then if you're going to get loans or need venture capitalists, they might want more detail and a more polished plan, and that's fine, because at least you got through the iterations. At least you didn't take a business plan and polish it and then not adapt or adjust at all and then die with it.
Yeah, Mike, and I might add that you have major corporations such as GE and Intuit that are using it on a large scale. Even at the SBDC, we actually did a canvas a couple of times. We did one when we were looking for an expansion, when we were looking to relocate or actually locate an office in Ridgecrest, our first satellite office. And we looked at many of the same factors that you see in the 9 boxes on the canvas. But you could also use it for a major shift or production line or etc.
And that's why Erika went through that Netflix. Wasn't that fascinating? They had 3 major shifts in the course of, I don't know how many years that was.
From 1998 to 2013.
Yeah, that was a big span. And they used it effectively.
Yeah, they dominated the movie.
They don't poo-poo it. It looks simple, but it's a lot more difficult than it looks when you're the person that's supposed to be strategically looking at each of the 9 boxes and filling them in properly.
Okay, I think we're about out of time. If you would please complete the survey at the end of today's webinar. And we have our next couple of webinars coming up. We have Selling to the Government and Corporate Buyers next Wednesday with author Vanita Naylor, who will be to us from, I believe she'll be from us somewhere in Northern California. And then from Mammoth Lakes, we'll have Avoiding Employee Burnout, a really kind of unique and specialized topic. And employee burnout will be given by Dr. Ariane Weiner. On May the 10th is Marketing Month. Of course it is, May for marketing. And on May 10th, we have Maureen Bushardang and our student intern, Claudia Belda, who will be doing one on digital marketing, one that actually marries the digital marketing aspect to traditional marketing, which I think is a very important concept that we miss these days. And then Facebook ads and doing with Facebook on 5/31, May 31st, coming up, Facebook specific with our consultant Christina Osborne from Mammoth Lakes, California. So that's about all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next Wednesday. For Erika Baltazar and Tom Weir, I'm Kelly Bearden. Have a great afternoon and the rest of your work week. Goodbye now.